Today, we're going to follow the incredible 120-day mission of one of the body's unsung heroes. And let me tell you, it's a journey packed with danger, sacrifice, and some pretty superhuman feats of endurance.
But believe it or not, our story doesn't start in a lab. It starts out on a football pitch, with a match that, on paper, should have been an absolute slaughter.
And nope, that is not a typo. In 2009, a Bolivian team of relative unknowns just completely dismantled a star-studded Argentinian squad, a squad that had the legendary Lionel Messi on it. So what on earth happened? I mean, was it just a fluke? Some kind of tactical masterclass? Or was there something else going on entirely? Well, it turns out the secret wasn't in their boots. It was in their blood. You see, the game was played at a ridiculously high altitude in La Paz, where the real hero of the day was the humble red blood cell. So let's dive into its origin story. To really understand their power, we've got to see how these incredible little couriers are made. And it's a process of radical transformation that happens deep down inside our bones. Get this, in just under 8 days, a large precursor cell called a pronormoblast starts its journey. It goes through this rapid-fire series of changes, maturing into what's called a reticulocyte, before its final, pretty dramatic transformation into a mission-ready red blood cell. And this really shows you the incredible sacrifice involved. To become the perfect oxygen carrier, the maturing cell literally ejects its own command center, the nucleus, and its power plants, the mitochondria. It sheds its own identity just to serve one vital purpose. So what kicks off this whole production line? It's a hormone called erythropoietin, or EPO for short. When your kidneys sense low oxygen, like in the thin air of La Paz, they shoot out an EPO signal that basically screams, "We need more couriers, stat!" The Bolivian players' bodies were already used to this, while the Argentinian team, who had just arrived, were literally gasping for air. All right, so once it's finally released from the bone marrow, the red blood cell begins its 120-day tour of duty. And let me tell you, it is a grueling one. Over its lifespan, a single red blood cell will travel about 300 miles through your circulatory system. That's like running more than 11 marathons, back to back. Just wild. But the distance isn't even the hardest part. The real challenge is the terrain. It has to squeeze through the body's absolute narrowest passages to get that life-giving oxygen right to the cells that need it most. I mean, the scale here is just astounding. A red blood cell is about 8 micrometers wide, but some of the capillaries it has to get through are only 2 micrometers wide. To make it, it literally has to fold itself in half. So, how in the world does it do it? Well, it all comes down to its incredible design, its superpowers, you could say. Its unique donut-like shape gives it a massive surface area. Its membrane is super flexible, and because it ditched its nucleus, it can pack itself full of the oxygen-carrying protein, hemoglobin. Okay, but wait a second. This brings up a pretty fascinating question. If it ejected its mitochondria, the cell's power plants, how does it get the energy to survive for a whole 120 days? The answer is something called anaerobic glycolysis, which is just a fancy way of saying it generates energy without using oxygen. About 95% of its energy comes from this process, which is just enough to power its basic functions. And that little 5% left over? Well, that's absolutely crucial for making protective molecules that shield the cell from damage on its dangerous journey. Now, this design is a masterpiece of efficiency, but it's also incredibly fragile. When just one tiny component fails, the entire system can break down, and that can lead to some really serious consequences. This is what's known as hemolytic anemia, and it's basically a condition where these vital cells have a shorter lifespan. They're being destroyed faster than the bone marrow can even make new ones. And a lot of the causes can be traced back to very specific design flaws. In hereditary spherocytosis, there's a defect in the cell's membrane. Think of it as its armor, which makes it rigid and ball-shaped. In G6PD deficiency, a key protective enzyme, its shield really, is missing, leaving the cell totally vulnerable to attack. And this sets off a really dangerous chain reaction. For someone with G6PD deficiency, eating something as simple as fava beans can trigger it. Without that protective enzyme, damaging oxidative stress builds up. It harms the cell, and eventually, it just ruptures. The hero falls. From the peaks of La Paz to the tiniest capillaries inside our own bodies, The red blood cell is an absolute marvel of biological engineering. Its story is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance that's required just to keep us alive. I mean, your body's factory produces 2 million of these vital cells every single second. So it kind of makes you wonder, what happens when that factory itself starts to fail?